All right, so you're thinking about building a new home in Charleston.
Exciting.
Oh,
Really.
absolutely. But before you get swept away by those model home fantasies, we need to talk about some potential pitfalls.
We do.
Like the kind that can turn that dream home into, well, a construction nightmare.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
No, nobody wants that. And that's why we're doing this deep dive into the 7 mistakes new home buyers make.
Based on the Charleston New Homes Guide's blog post, right?
Exactly. They lay it all out so we can all learn from those who've gone before us and dodge those bullets.
Smart.
So, mistake number 1, skipping pre-approval.
Oh, that's a big one.
It seems basic, but the blog post really emphasizes that it's not just about knowing your budget,
It's about having that edge in this crazy market,
especially in Charleston.
especially in Charleston.
Hmm.
When you're pre-approved, it shows the sellers and builders that you're serious.
That you're not window shopping.
Exactly. You're financially ready to move quickly, and that can make all the difference when you're trying to snag that perfect lot or get your offer accepted.
So it's less about you knowing and more about proving it to everyone else.
You got it.
Now, here's a question that I've always had about this process.
Okay.
If I'm shopping around for the best mortgage rate, doesn't that mean multiple credit checks?
Ah, yeah, that's a common concern.
And wouldn't all those inquiries ding my credit score?
Here's the thing. Credit bureaus are actually pretty smart about this. They treat multiple inquiries for a mortgage within a short period of time as just one inquiry.
So like a 2-week window or something.
Exactly. So you can shop around and get those rate comparisons without hurting your score.
Okay, that's great to know.
Definitely work smarter, not harder.
Okay, so pre-approval check, but then comes the big question of choosing the right builder.
Yeah. Not all builders are created equal.
I imagine they all have their own personalities.
They absolutely do. And that's why research is key.
So what kind of research should we be doing?
Well, first of all, don't just fall for that flashy model home.
Oh, so tempting.
It is, but look beyond the surface. Dig into their track record.
You mean like, have they actually delivered projects on time and within budget?
Exactly. Talk to past clients if you can. Online reviews can be helpful.
But getting the inside scoop from someone who's been through it is gold.
Absolutely.
It's like choosing a surgeon. You want someone with great bedside manner, but also a proven track record.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't choose a surgeon based solely on their charming personality.
No, you want to know they can handle the scalpel?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And just as important is their communication style.
Oh, that's huge.
It is. Are they responsive to your questions? Do they keep you informed?
A builder who ghosts you during the planning stages isn't going to magically become communicative once construction starts.
You got it. Those early interactions are a preview of what's to come.
Okay, so pay attention to how they interact with you during those initial meetings.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Are they patient? Are they clear? Do they follow through on what they promise?
Makes sense. So we've got pre-approval, we've got choosing the right builder. Now, the blog post also highlights this mistake that I am so guilty of, overlooking lot selection.
It's easy to get caught up in the house itself.
I know, I do it every time.
But remember, you're not just buying a house, you're buying a piece of land.
It's true.
And that land has its own personality.
Okay, so what are some things we need to think about besides just the view?
So much more. Think about the practical aspects. Is the lot flat or sloped? How's the drainage?
Right, a sloped lot might have a gorgeous view, but it could also mean drainage problems and a yard that's not very usable.
Exactly. Then there's the orientation. A west-facing lot means you'll be battling that afternoon sun all summer long.
And higher energy bills.
Exactly.
Wow, it's amazing how many factors there are.
There are. And then don't forget about the surrounding community. Is there a lot premium for that corner lot or the marsh view?
Because those premiums can add up.
They can quickly.
Yeah.
So it all goes back to research. Walk the neighborhood. Talk to potential neighbors.
Get a feel for the community vibe.
Exactly.
So it's like you're buying real estate within real estate.
I will like that.
All right, this is eye-opening. It's so much more than just picking a floor plan. It's about understanding the land, the builder, the community.
All of it.
And that brings us to another mistake that can really trip people up, skipping the home inspection.
I know what you're thinking. It's brand new. What could go wrong?
Exactly. Shouldn't it be perfect?
You'd think so, right?
So why the need for an inspector?
Well, even the most reputable builders can make mistakes.
So you're saying don't just rely on the builder's own inspections.
Exactly. Think of it like buying a used car.
You wouldn't skip the mechanic's inspection?
Nope. Same goes for a new home. It's a huge investment, and an inspector is a small price to pay for peace of mind.
Okay, I'm convinced, but what exactly are they looking for? What can go wrong in a brand new house?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
We're talking about everything from wiring and plumbing issues to structural problems and even code violations.
So things I probably wouldn't even know to look for.
Exactly. A good inspector will examine the entire house from top to bottom, looking for any red flags.
So they have like a sixth sense for spotting potential problems.
They do. They develop a keen eye over time. And here's another important point. Don't just settle for one inspection. Ideally, you should have 3 inspections done.
3.
Yes, before the foundation is poured, before the drywall goes up, and then a final inspection right before closing.
Wow, that's thorough.
It is. But it's much easier and cheaper to fix a problem during the construction phase than after you've moved in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like preventative medicine for your home.
Exactly.
Okay, I have to say, this is all starting to sound a bit overwhelming.
I understand.
My anxiety level is definitely rising.
Don't worry, we're here to break it down into manageable steps.
Okay, go.
Knowledge is power. And once you understand the process and the potential pitfalls, you can approach this with confidence.
Okay, that's reassuring. It's all about protecting that investment.
It is. Making sure that dream home doesn't turn into a nightmare.
Right. And speaking of protecting that investment, let's talk about another common mistake, underestimating those additional costs.
Uh-oh.
This is where it gets really tricky because, those tempting upgrades,
Oh, yeah, they can add up quickly.
they do you start with those granite countertops, and before you know it, you're adding a custom wine cellar and a pizza oven.
It's easy to get carried away, especially when you're walking through those gorgeous model homes.
I know.
But remember, every upgrade impacts that bottom line.
Mm.
And it's not just the upgrades themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's those hidden costs that can really sneak up on you.
Okay, like what?
Well, we talked about lot premiums,
Right.
but then there are closing costs, HOA fees, if you're in a planned community.
Oh, yeah.
Even landscaping costs can be significant.
So it's like this whole other layer of cost that isn't immediately obvious when you're looking at that base price.
Exactly. And then don't forget about ongoing expenses like property taxes and homeowners insurance.
Right? They can fluctuate too.
They can. So factor that in.
Okay, mental note, create a realistic budget that includes all those hidden costs.
Good. And remember, it's always better to err on the side of caution.
Having that financial cushion will save a lot of stress later.
Absolutely. So now let's tackle another potential pitfall, neglecting to read the contract carefully.
Ugh, the dreaded contract. Those things are longer than War and Peace.
They can be intimidating.
And just as dense.
But trust me, it's worth taking the time to carefully review every clause, even if you need to call in reinforcements.
Like a real estate attorney.
Exactly.
Okay.
This document is legally binding, and it outlines everything from the construction timeline and payment schedule to the builder's warranties and what happens if there are delays or disputes.
Okay, I'm breaking out in a cold sweat just thinking about it.
But don't worry, we'll break it down.
Good. What are some key things to focus on?
Okay, first of all, pay close attention to the construction timeline. Is there a guaranteed completion date?
And what are the penalties for delays?
Exactly. And speaking of delays, what happens if there are things outside anyone's control?
Like weather events or, material shortages.
Right. Make sure those contingencies are clearly spelled out.
So it's all about having those what-if scenarios covered.
Exactly. And then there's the warranty coverage. What's included? How long does it last? And what's the process for filing a claim if something goes wrong? You want to know all of this up front, not when you're dealing with a leaky roof or a faulty appliance.
Right. That makes sense. So timeline delays, warranties. Got it. Anything else?
Well, it's worth noting that builder contracts can be negotiable, especially with smaller local builders.
Oh, really?
Don't be afraid to ask for things like an extended timeline for finalizing upgrades or adjustments to penalty clauses.
You're saying it's worth pushing back a little?
If there are terms that you're not comfortable with, absolutely. Remember, you're entering into a relationship with this builder.
That's a good point.
You want to make sure it's a good one.
Yeah, one built on trust and mutual respect.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final mistake, to avoid making impulsive decisions.
Oh, this is where I tend to get into trouble.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement.
That model home, the pressure of a competitive market.
I get it. But buying a home is a huge decision, both financially and emotionally. It's not something to rush into.
So what's the antidote to impulsivity?
Take your time. Make a pros and cons list consult with trusted advisors like your real estate agent.
And for goodness sake, stick to your budget.
Yes. It's like that saying, measure twice, cut once. You don't want to end up with buyer's remorse because you let your emotions cloud your judgment.
So true. And I guess we also have to think about the future.
Yes. Will this house still meet your needs in 5, 10 years? It's about making a well-informed decision, not just an emotional one.
This is all such great advice. We've covered so much ground already.
We have, but we're just getting started,
Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into Charleston new home construction.
where we'll unpack even more expert tips and insider knowledge to help you navigate this exciting journey.
You won't want to miss it.
And remember, knowledge is your secret weapon in the world of new construction.
See you next time.